All right, so for today's mini lesson, we're gonna basically roll an object down a ramp. I'm using this metal cylinder because it's dense. You can use a marble. I was using a pen earlier, but one of the reasons I decided against continuing with the pen is that it's not very heavy, not very dense. And I also noticed that it would roll back and forth. And that's probably because the internal symmetry is not perfect. So this is much more symmetric inside. You could use a battery. I've done that before, but just the same as the pen, battery, you'll find the battery will settle like that, which tells me that there's something inside that's kind of heavier on one side than the other. So those are things that could affect your results. So anyways, a marble, I don't know, find yourself something, especially something kind of dense. And, you know, if you can't find something as good as this, at least use what you have. And it's not that bad if you use something that's not perfect. It's part of the journey to understanding how there's always a way to improve your tools, your equipment, and your methods. So anyways, in fact, it would be a good idea to do this experiment several times, each with better and better equipment and techniques, and see how that affects your results. Because on your graph, you'll get a nice clear line versus a messy, hard to interpret one. That's actually fundamental and important to understanding how science works. There's no such thing as a perfect experiment. There's always better. So what we need to do is make some marks on this. I'm using a piece of paper on a clipboard, and just to get it nice and parallel, I'm going to set it like that. I just released this, situate it, and then clamp it. And now I'm going to use a ruler, and I'm using the side with centimeters, not inches. Inches, you know, people are probably more familiar with inches. Maybe you're not. I grew up more familiar with inches and feet and stuff, but it's actually a system that's not very accurate. I mean, not very easy to calculate with. Centimeters, millimeters is a system built intentionally to make calculations and adding stuff easier. So please embrace it. And I'm going to make my marks. Let's see, let's angle this. I'm going to make marks every 2 centimeters. So I don't know if you can see that. I'm lining that up at 0, put a mark at 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and so on. Make your marks accurately. This is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and 20. Now I'm going to do it over on this side so I can connect the lines. That way I have a nice set of parallel lines to guide my release points. Okay, connect those lines. Well, I'm going to try to not eat up the video time with drawing these lines. So you would want to continue and make all your lines. Then set it up. I'm going to use a cell phone. I'm not going to make the ramp too steep because I don't want this to fly off the table. In fact, you're probably going to have to use the floor or something. And the floor might not be perfectly level. This table might not be perfectly level. There's an app on your phone that you can actually, you know, see how level stuff is. But anyways, try to find a level spot, just whatever's the best. You might even find certain ranges, certain areas of your floor. If you find an area that has a really noticeable dip, then don't use that part. Go to a different part of the floor. But anyways, I'm releasing this right at the first mark. I'm lining up my eyes so I can see that it's right up against that mark, and then I'm releasing it. Okay, making a mark right there. And then I will measure in centimeters from there to there. Write that in my data table. You'll need to access this document. There's a link in today's Canvas, and then you'll put 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, and then I just released it at 2 and it went so many centimeters. I'm going to release it from the next one and it'll go even further, and then I'll release it from the next one. So every one of these marks, every one of those boxes corresponds to one of these marks, and how far it goes is what goes down under distance. So it should be very self-explanatory. And that's what you're doing today. Tomorrow, we'll talk about factors that improve or reduce your accuracy. And we'll also, at some point, get around to turning your data table into a graph. So, happy collection gathering, and I'll see you next time.